Welcome to Positive Talk with Kevin MacDonald. Hey, that's me. Hi, and welcome to Positive Talk. Our show features the best positive stories and people from around the globe as we endeavor to answer the universal question of why am I here and what is my purpose? Understanding that can change everything, and knowing your greatness is fundamental to living your best life. So join us right now as together we work to create the adventure of our lifetime. You know, and one of the adventures of my lifetime will be to do a little bit of traveling. Perhaps I might even go to England. I might even go to Scotland. I'd love to go to Scotland. It's a wonderful place I hear and all that stuff. In fact, we have a gentleman, and I apologize. My Scottish accent is terrible, and you know that. But I'm excited because Simon MacDonald is here. I'm a MacDonald, he's a MacDonald, so theoretically we should be mortal enemies, but I think we have a common ancestry and it's a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to talking to Simon. He is a television host, he's a keynote speaker, he is what they call as a television presenter, and we'll talk about that. And he's also on USA Global TV and radio in the United Kingdom. It's a news and cultural show, and so I'm welcome to the show, young man. I'm really glad that you're here. And we were talking before we began. How cold is it there?
It's a little bit chilly tonight. It's down about minus 10, which is I think around about 18 Fahrenheit in your language. But yeah, if it gets any colder, I'll need to go and put a jersey on.
Does it? I asked you before, but I'm not sure. Does it do that every winter? Is it that cold sometimes?
Oh, it tries. It tries very hard. I mean, I've known it to be down minus 15, minus 16 over here in the winter as well. At that stage, you do have to put a jersey on.
So now, the opposite side of that, what's it like in the summertime? Is it nice and wonderful?
Yeah, it goes up to just above freezing. It's very nice. No, I think we've had, we're getting into the maybe the low 20s, which is into the 70s, maybe 80s Fahrenheit. So it's very pleasant.
Oh, very
Except
good.
For one thing we got here as well, which is called the midge. And the Highland midge makes mosquitoes just look like absolute puppy dogs. They really do. That the midge, they bite. They've got ferocious bites. They're about 90% teeth, and the rest of it is no brain.
How big are these things?
They're tiny. I mean, they're actually quite difficult to see. They are so small. But if you kill one, 100 of them turn up to the funeral. And they're all savage.
They're out to get you.
Absolutely, definitely, yes. I mean, in the old, going back into the Jacobite days of around 1745, thereabouts, and I don't mean PM, I mean the year 1745, when the English redcoats were coming up and trying to stop us from being revolting, or being rebels. I'm trying to be polite now. And so to extract any information, if they caught an English soldier, then they'd strip him naked and tie him to a tree. Within 30 minutes, you would go insane. Totally. I mean, you'd really lose it completely. So they get all the information they wanted. So that's, yeah. So we decided not to eradicate the midge. We've kept them since.
Just in case the British come back.
Just in case the English try to come back. Yes, that's it.
So tell me, what's it like living in Scotland? Are the pubs as wonderful as I hear, and the people as friendly?
I mean, they are. They're really, really friendly. If they like you, they won't spit you out. They're exceptionally nice people here. Very laid back. Tomorrow. If we put it off to tomorrow, then the next day will do fine. And a lot of us quite enjoy our drink. I mean, we're producing a lot of whiskey here as well. There's over 1,500 different labels of whiskey come out of Scotland. And we're growing salmon as well. It's actually the salmon, fresh salmon, is the biggest food export that the UK has. It's all farmed in Scotland, and most of it on the west coast here. So it's big business.
Now, are those king salmon or silvers or
Atlantic salmon?
I
Yes,
I
yes.
didn't know because I'm from it. We're on the west coast of the United States,
Yeah, so
and
you've
so we
got
have king
coho and
salmon.
all sorts there. Yes.
Yeah, we have king salmon and silvers, but I
Mm.
hadn't heard of Atlantic salmon. Are they? Is it a different breed? Do you have any idea what the difference is?
Well, it's actually the most prolifically farmed salmon in the world.
Ah,
And I mean, salmon farming, there's salmon actually farming Atlantic salmon in the Pacific now off the coast of Chile. And they're farming it in Japan, and they're farming it all over the world. At Tasmania's big salmon farms there. It's all Atlantic salmon that's being done there as well. So it's huge business. And Norway is probably about the biggest producer in the world. But Norway might be the biggest, but Scotland's the best. The quality of Scottish salmon is something else.
just like isn't that where Scotch whiskey came from? The term Scotch, didn't that come from Scotland?
It
Or am I?
is, yes, absolutely, it is. Yes, and the only thing that's allowed, there are two items that are allowed to be have the prename of Scotch. One is whiskey, and the other is the Scotch egg, which is an egg which is coated in mincemeat and then breadcrumbs around there, and then it's deep fried. It's actually very, very tasty, and that's allowed to be called Scotch egg and
Scotch
Scotch
egg.
whiskey. Yes,
And it's an egg that's deep fried, basically.
yes, but it's covered with mincemeat first. The egg. So you've got a hard boiled egg. You take the shell off it, and then you coat it in the mincemeat, and then breadcrumbs, and then deep fry it. Delicious.
Okay, now I haven't been there yet. So what exactly is mincemeat? Is it just beef that is chopped
Minced
up?
beef. Yeah, minced beef or minced lamb as well. Depends which you prefer.
Oh wow. So is that egg kind of served for breakfast? Is it just an appetizer kind of thing or a dinner entree?
That's a pretty big appetizer. Uh, it's a good snack food if you're out in the hill or out for a long walk and you're taking a packed lunch with you. A Scotch egg is that'll keep you going. It'll keep you going for quite a while, and you've got to walk a little bit further because it puts the weight back on too. Which I'm trying to lose now. Christmas is the time of overindulgence in the food world, so
It is indeed.
I had to support our suppliers.
That's it. Well, you also do you're a food guy, like I'm a food guy.
Yes, yes. There's something about McDonald's, isn't it?
Okay. Apparently there is, but
Yes.
you make things that are much more sophisticated. I'm looking at some a seafood dish that you do, which is really looks wonderful. Then is that crawdads? What are those?
I do all sorts of fish dishes, and I love cooking with fish. It's actually very simple to cook with fish. People tend to get quite sort of frightened and scared about the idea of cooking with fish, but me, no, I love it, absolutely love it, and work with it all the time. But yeah, with fish as well. I used to have a smokehouse, and one of the things I did as well, I was just thinking about McDonald's and their claim to having fast food. I claim to having faster food than the McDonald's chain. I did smoked scallops, which I supplied onto Concord. Now, 1,500 miles an hour, that's fast food. McDonald's can't keep up with that one.
Oh, that would be those. How did you? So those are scallops. How did you prepare them?
The scallops first. They're taken out the shell, then they're brined at a 30% brine just for about 4 minutes, just to give that little bit of stabilization with the salt. Then rumbled in some olive oil, and then put in a tray and roast smoked. So they come out actually cooked from it as well. They are just golden and delicious, really, really lovely.
Oh, that would
So
so they served that on the Concorde. While for those of you that don't know, the Concorde was a supersonic jet that went back and forth from Europe to. It no longer exists now, and I don't even know why. Do you know why the Concorde ceased to run? It was it because
yeah,
of the.
the French. Oh, there we go. It's time. The, the French managed to prang one. Yeah, they had an accident with one of the French Concords. So that was that was decided after that. Then they had to remodel the engines, and then they felt, right, okay, time's up now. Time to move on. I feel that civilization took a step back when they stopped flying Concorde. I mean, it's a magnificent aircraft, way ahead of her time, and just an extraordinary plane. And so sad to see her no longer flying.
Well, and couldn't she make the Atlantic trip in like some ridiculous time, like 4 hours or 3 hours or something?
Yes, yeah. I mean, half the time of your jumbo jet or any of the other planes that are doing transatlantic flights. So very, very fast. She was very comfortable. She was quite cramped as well. I mean, needless to say, I mean, something that's the sort of like a very thin cigar, and very tightly cramped. But they knew how to look after you on board there, and the food was very good. The way they dished up the scallops there, and I'd worked with one of London's leading chefs in the Savoy Hotel on the recipe as to how it was to be served on Concorde. And they sliced the meat across the middle and opened it out like two discs. And then the beautiful golden roe, the eggs of it, were laid across the front, and it looked like a butterfly. So there's the aviation connection. And then there's a bit of caviar put on, and it was beluga caviar on each wing of this butterfly, and then a lovely watercress sauce to go with it. And that was how it was presented on Concorde.
If you were to buy one buy that dish in an American restaurant, how much would it cost?
Oh, 25, 30, maybe $40. Unless you want to go to a really nice restaurant, then you're probably going to be about $50 or $60 for it.
Yeah, well, it's and with the cost of food these days and labor and stuff, it's the whole industry's changed, but it's
Yeah.
expensive. But that sounds wonderful. How did you get into cooking?
Hunger. Had to eat something.
And so you might as well cook it if you're gonna eat it.
That's it. Yes. Well, I mean, my mother was a very good cook. She was cordon bleu cook, and I just really took to it from there. Just I've always enjoyed playing with the food. And as a kid, you play with the food, you get into trouble for it. Well, now I can play with my food and do it legitimately and get praised for it. So it's turning the world around a bit.
Oh, exactly. Now I'm reading in your bio that you have cooked and chefed and stuff for all kinds of people, including royalty. Is there any names you'd care to drop?
Well, I've done 5 royal households, including our own, for quite a number of our own royals. The late King Hussein of Jordan was actually a regular customer of mine when I had my smoking business, and where my smoking business was, it was right out in the sticks. It was in the wilds of the West Highlands, and when I say remote, it would cost me it would cost me 5 gallons of petrol to go and buy 10 gallons of petrol, basically, or gas. So that was quite remote. But King Hussein, he used to call the Inverlochy Castle near Fort William, where it was based, he would call it his Highland home. And I got introduced to him once I was taking some produce smoked salmon into Inverlochy Castle. And I got a phone call from the manager there, and he asked me, would I mind if he brought out a special visitor to see my smoking business. So fine, okay. So about an hour later, this Rolls Royce arrives up at the door, and this very little man with a huge persona has walked in. He's one of these very small people who walks into a room and fills it, type character. And he, immediately recognised who it was, and he was delighted being in the West Highlands because he could walk about and not worry about, the security was, he didn't worry about things like that. He just loved that part of the world. So, he came into the smokehouse several times after that, and we got really quite chatty and quite friendly. And there was one day he came in, and I was slicing some salmon, and they had a little glass viewing panel from the shop, from the smokehouse shop, through onto the production floor. And I was busy concentrating slicing the salmon, and there's this knock, knock, knock on the window, and I looked up, and good morning, hello. And so he said, can I come through? And I said, yeah, certainly. And he was watching what I was doing. So he said, do you think I could try this? So I said, certainly. So I showed him how to slice the salmon, and he actually did it extremely well. In the meantime, as I was busy showing him this, there was a customer came into the smokehouse shop, and they were looking through the window, and they were looking rather sort of, just pointing, what's that? So I went through. I said, "Can I help you?" She said, "Yes." I said, that looks like King Hussein of Jordan. I said, "Oh yes, it is." And says, "What's he doing slicing salmon in a factory?" I said, "Well, the economy in Jordan's gone down the drain these days, and he had to get a part-time job to try and sort it out." Well, this couple, they sort of left the place sort of thinking, "What the heck's going on?" I went in and told King Hussein about this, and he just roared with laughter. So I think it's been brought up at several dinner parties since as well. So he was one of the one of the royals that I'd cooked for, and I've also done a couple of your U.S. presidents as well. So yeah.
You've cooked for the rabble of the presidency?
Absolutely, yeah. I'm not telling you which one, but it was one that at least it had, the two both had a sort of reasonable appreciation of good food.
Oh, let's see. It couldn't have been. Well, it could have been Clinton, I suppose. Well, it doesn't matter. But now, did you come to the States to do that, or did they stop by while they were just wandering around the countryside?
They just happened to be in the UK doing something else at the time, and I was doing a charity event at the American Embassy in London. And so, on two occasions, there was visits from US presidents at that time. So it all just sort of, they happened to be there. So finished up, having to put on my very clean white and strut my stuff for them as well, and introduce them to some good Scottish fish recipes.
Were they interested in good Scottish scotch as well?
Well, I can't comment on that, but they certainly enjoyed the fish. And they enjoyed my smoked cheese, because there was some of it started going back and forward, or back to the States, to the White House. So it must have gone down all right.
So I got to ask you, because you have got, I imagine, sitting down, having a glass of something with you, you'd have stories upon stories upon stories. How did you get to be around so many interesting people? And because you're a very interesting fellow yourself, and you've got a children's book out, how did you get all this together? What is your background? What is your story?
Oh goodness! I mean, I wear so many hats in this life. I mean, you just wouldn't believe it. I really need a whole milliner's shop to put a different one on each time. I've got the book. Yes, I do my television presenting and radio work, and here I am on your show as well, which is great fun. I'm really enjoying it. I'm involved in a regular Wednesday afternoon show on USA Global TV, which I did today. And yesterday I did another show for which was sort of joint US and South African. So that side keeps me quite busy. But in between times, my other day job of many, I'm just trying to see how far down the list I am now. I'm a consultant in fisheries and aquaculture, and in food processing as well. So I've got projects at the moment running. I've just got a new one starting up in Switzerland. I've got another one working in the States. I've got one in Kenya and one in Zambia, and then there's ones coming up in Ghana as well. So yeah, I like to keep myself busy. Well, there's a couple in Scotland as well, which I think they're sort of for the end of the year. So yeah, I keep myself really busy. I enjoy it, love it, and I don't want to retire. I think the great thing is I look forward to a Monday morning. If you don't look forward to Monday morning, it's time to hang that hat up and get out of it and retire. So I've got a lot of hats to go through yet.
Or put that hat down and pick up another hat.
That's the way to do it. Yeah. So every day is a blast. I mean, it's just something new. I mean, I'm juggling things in the air all the time. I'm doing half a dozen different jobs in one day, and people have said, "Why don't you retire?" And then other people say, "Oh, don't retire, Simon, because you think you're busy now. Just wait till you retire, then you'll know what busy's all about." So I thought, okay, I'm busy enough now. I'll keep on doing what I'm doing.
Well, and you do so much, and you are so helpful to so many people that it's so. I got to ask you. I know you've got a children's book out, and it's a rhyme book and stuff. But when is the biography coming out?
What, my biography?
Oh, yes, sir. You got lots of stories.
I won't have time to write it. Too long. It'll interfere with all the other ones I've got on the go. Because with the book I've got out just now, A Rhyme and Time, which is new nursery rhymes for children, and it's written really from the child's perspective, rather than an adult writing for a child. I've tried to be the child writing for the child and writing for adults as well. So the adults are actually, I think the adults are getting more pleasure secretly out of this book than the kiddies are, because I keep on getting calls and emails and so on coming in to say, we love this book and so on. Unfortunately, we've got to give it to the grandkids eventually.
Well, that is the sign of a really good author who can touch generationally, that it is as much fun for the adults because they get it a little bit differently than a young person and than a kid would, but they still are engaged by it. That's really cool.
Well, they do as well, because I illustrated it as well as writing it, so I've done but I can't delegate, I've got to do the lot. So I wasn't going to pass the illustrating side to somebody else when I could have the fun of doing it myself. And it's great escapism doing this, because it takes my mind off absolutely everything as well when you're writing these and when you're doing the drawings, and it's caricaturish type drawings, so the adults can relate to the drawings and the paintings as much as the children can as well. So it makes it all the more enjoyable. And I've even been getting videos being sent to me. Grandpa sitting on the couch with the grandkids around and reading out some of the poems, and then you can hear his voice going down. And he turns another page and so on. And the kids says, "What? Tell me about this." Shh, I'm reading this. So they've become totally engrossed in it.
Oh,
the dog sitting on the floor. The dog sitting on the floor, looking up like this, listening to every word.
What a family setting that is. That has to make your heart warm, because you're bringing people together multi-generationally, of grandparents reading to their grandkids and stuff. That's got to make you feel good. And was that your intention when you started?
No, I didn't know anything about publishing or anything. I thought, what am I going to do with this? And it's lay in a drawer for ages. And then it was Diane Floyd Bain was an award-winning author from America, and she's also co-host on the show I'm on USA Global TV. And we got talking one day before a show about writing, and I said, I've written this children's book. And she said, read me a poem. So I read her a couple of them, because they're short to keep the attention span of the little ones. And she said, "Gosh, this is amazing." So why haven't you had this published? She said, "I wouldn't even know where to start." So she said, "Right, I will put you in touch with a really good publisher." So that was it. We got in touch with Norris Triad Publications, and we had an online call and said, "Oh, really, read us a couple of poems, and they were just enthralled with it and said, "We've got to publish this. We'll do it." And so that was it. It was then that was the was it end of September, I think I spoke to them. The book was published and brought out on the 10th of November, so it was pretty quick.
Oh, wow.
But it was just that there's just an incredible feeling, a euphoric feeling when I was handed my first copy of the book in print, and you thought, well, it's a feeling that you really can hardly describe. It's incredible feeling.
It's like having a child, or in some other strange thing.
It's amazing. So I thought, well, I've got to do another one of these. So I was working on another one. And in between times, I've got another one, which is a slightly different tack altogether. And that's a book actually about my father's wartime experiences. He was at the Battle of Cassino, towards the end of World War II. And he wrote, he wasn't supposed to, but he wrote a diary up of what they were doing with maps in it and all sorts of things. And it was all handwritten on whatever scraps of paper he could find. Well, I've got all these scraps of paper and I've put them all together. So creating a book on that. So one page will have the actual scrap of paper, written, with his handwriting on it. And the facing page to that will be the transcription of that, because some of his writing's a bit like mine, a bit blurry. So the reader can then have the choice of really absorbing themselves by reading the handwritten, done on the day on the battlefield, or reading the transcript, and there's various photographs and so on through it as well. So it's a slightly different way of writing a true story on wartime experience. So again, publishers, this is something totally different. This is
Sounds like a fascinating project.
So that's it. So I've got that one, and that one's nearly ready to come out, I believe. So,
by the way, I have to tell you that I've known, Simon, I've known people that have been a children's author, and I've known people that have illustrated children's books. I haven't known anybody yet who has written and illustrated. And by the way, your illustrations are really top notch. To illustrate and to write. Have you always been a painter or a writer or a
I think it's signs of a misspent youth, probably.
I gotta believe, my friend, that you haven't misspent a moment in time in your entire life, because you've done so much and you've been so busy. And I gotta ask you, somebody's asking me, what are the pictures behind you, and are they historical pictures, or are they just?
Yes, these are they're done by an artist called Maud Earl. It's a set of 12. It's the 12 months, and they're all of working dogs and gun dogs. And these were painted about late 1840s, 1850s. And Maud Earl, she was a prolific painter of dogs, and in particular that was her speciality. So she produced this series of 12, the 12 months, and there were 20 sets of prints made from them, and she's signed each one on the frame as well. That's one of the that's one of the 20 sets of prints. So I'm very proud of those. They've been passed down. My grandfather had them, and I remember them in his gun room, and then in his dining room, and then in my parents' house they had them in the dining room. So here we are, and this is a dining room. So I've got them in my dining room now, and absolutely love them. And they've got so many memories, childhood memories for me as well. Oh, sure. So that's it. And Maud Earl, I mean, she is just such a fabulous painter, and I really, really love these paintings. I like antiques. I'm guessing myself.
Well, you're a fine illustrator, and you did really nice work on this. So congratulations to doing all that. The second children's book, are you illustrating that as well?
Oh yes, absolutely. definitely.
Wow.
I mean, that's 90% of the fun of it. And I was harked back sort of thinking about my school report cards, and I thought, if my English teacher was alive and knew that I'd actually got a book written and published that's selling all over the world, then he'd be just sort of shaking his head. Said, no, it's just not possible. And my art teacher might have sort of said, yeah, okay, that you could improve that painting there. You could do something different with that. But the English teacher, his jaw would be trailing along the ground, I think.
Well, but that times have changed, and I'm sure that they would appreciate the art and the books that you're putting out now. I got to ask you, because I honestly don't know. One of these days, I hope to get to Scotland. I would love to go to Stirling Bridge and so, because of course that's where William Wallace had his his moment of fame. And where are you in relationship to what's the largest city with that doesn't take like a tank and a half to get to?
I was going to say there isn't one. Glasgow. Glasgow's about 2.5 hours drive from here on a good day.
Now, with the other thing is your architecture, being in Scotland, that you've been around a long time. You still
Yes.
have buildings that are 1,000 years old, don't you?
Yeah. Well, this one, I mean, my house here, that was built in the late 1700s.
Oh my gosh, really?
So yeah, I mean, the walls here are over 3 feet thick. But
Oh
we've got
my.
some. But this area that I live in here, it's called Kilmartin Glen, and this goes back to Neolithic times. We've got some standing stones and monuments and burial grounds here, which are 4,500 years old, just outside. Yeah, I mean, all around here. It's actually quite a sort of world famous site for that. And going back into those sort of ages, then there were more Scottish kings based here, over the hundreds of years than anywhere else. So it's historically a very important area. A little bit before my time, I do say a little bit, but 4,500 years old. It's quite a while.
That it was a wee bit, just a wee bit,
Just a wee bit.
But if you have a house that's got 3 feet thick walls, it must hold the heat very well and hold the in the summertime, hold the temperature, keep it lower and stuff. Would that be true?
Yes, it does help, and it won't blow away. That's for sure.
No.
Because it does get kind of drafty here. But we expect that, and they talk, and once you get down to the likes of London, if you get a puff of wind over 40, 50 miles an hour, people are going into a panic. This is the end of the world. Up here, I mean, I remember when I lived a little bit further north from here before, where I had the smokehouse, and there was a weather station there, and there was it was a bit of a windy night, and there was a gust recorded of 120 miles an hour. But the next gust that came through was even stronger, but they couldn't measure it because the first one had blown the wind gauge away. So,
by the way, in the United States, they call that a hurricane.
Yeah, we call that as well. When it gets to that, I start to think about shortening sail on the boat.
No, you call that a puff of wind. I just love that. You are delightful, I have to tell you. And if I want to see you on TV, I can see you on your television network, and that's worldwide, isn't it?
USA Global TV, yes, it is. And we actually had fun today because it's normally been done through StreamYard. Now it's gone on to what's it, Wave something or other. And it's become very much more technical. I mean, today, it was a crash course in all the gizmos that Wave can put up, and it was quite an exciting show today. And we're forgiven for the odd mistake here and there, but that's live shows for you. And I prefer doing live television than doing recorded, because with live you can have the fun and you just keep the momentum going, and you make a mistake, so what? It makes it more fun.
It's called being human. And we all are that, and we all I get the biggest kick out of podcasters that go, well, I take it and then I edit it, and I edit all the ums and the ahs and the dead air and all of that, and it takes me about 3 days to edit it and stuff. Well, that's then not really what you did. It is it's a caricature of what you did, but it isn't
Yeah.
real, and it doesn't give the feeling of a real, honest to goodness conversation.
Yeah. Well, that's it. I mean, I've been, there's four of us on this particular program. It's the UK News and Culture, and there's Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. She's the producer and host, and then Diane Floyd Bame, who's a co-host, and then Helen Richard, who covers the stuff down south, Englandshire, and I cover things in Scotland. I do go off the beaten track a bit, because I did a piece on the White House and another piece on the Pentagon just not so long ago. But today I was doing a piece about the Scottish Parliament, which, oddly enough, it's about one of the oldest parliaments in the world, but it's also one of the newest ones as well, because Scotland only got its sort of devolved power and its own parliament about 20 years ago. So it's very new parliament. And the parliament buildings was actually designed by a Spanish man in the shape of upturned fishing boats, which said quite a bit about the state of the fishing fleet at the time when he designed it. But it's an interesting building, shall we say. It's technically it looks an impossible place, and to find your way about in it is an impossible place. But yeah. So, I enjoy doing that as well. It's, and the research work into it is great fun. And it's all done live. So they get all the mistakes and bloopers as well. So what? It's fun. And it's, as you say, it's human.
Exactly. I do have to ask you, because I'm, of course, in the United States, and we've developed, I'm sure that you're aware, since you are globally aware, we've developed a bit of a reputation over the past, like dozen years or so. Do people in Europe, and people specifically in Scotland, when you're over there having a pint over at the pub and you're talking about them, do we appear to be as crazy as I think we do to people around the world?
Well, Americans, no, welcome you. We need your money,
Well, only the good ones go to Scotland.
Yeah. I mean, the Scots do tend to have a reputation for being slightly sort of mean with their money. But then if you look at a kilt, there are no pockets in a kilt, so you can't carry the money. That's it. Just got to rely on somebody coming along wearing trousers that's got pockets in it. Might have some money in it.
And well, don't they have the little pouches in front, a little kind of like a little purse that you can?
Yeah, yes, called a sporran. Yes, it's to keep your mobile phone in, and a hip flask of the whiskey as well. So there's not much room for any money in there at the same time.
I got to ask you, because when it's cold out there and when it's in the 30 degrees, do you wear a kilt and then have like a long underwear underneath it, or what do you do?
What? In Scotland?
Come on, we're wimpy Americans. We don't know.
You've heard of the expression "the full 9 yards."
I've heard the expression. I don't know where it came from. Please enlighten me.
In the kilt, it is 9 yards of material in a kilt. So, and it's quite a heavy material as well. So it keeps you extremely warm in the winter with that amount of material hung around your waist. But in the summer, it's got natural air conditioning. So we've got the best of both worlds.
Oh, now I in the stories I read and like in Braveheart and stuff, guys were wearing the kilts, but they didn't wear any undergarments, and then they could raise the kilts and flash the enemy. Was that a thing, or was that Hollywood?
No, actually, it was a thing, but there's a lot of historical inaccuracies in Braveheart. There, in fact, I was an extra in Braveheart for a while,
You
and
were?
yes, a lot of it was filmed around Fort William, where it was, so that I joined in the fun. And again, Mel Gibson, who was producing it and acting in it, he was. Staying in Rocky Castle, and so he used to come out to the smokehouse as well. So we'd chat away, and he liked the smoked salmon, so that was it. So that he said, "Oh, come along, and we'll get you involved." So, I mean, in Scotland, the people who are allowed to wear anything under the kilt are dancers, just purely for the sake of modesty. In the army, in the Scots army, if they're going out on leave or leaving the barracks, they walk across the guard room floor, and there's a mirror on the floor, and the guards are looking to make sure that you are properly dressed, i.e., you don't have anything on underneath your clothes. So there's a battle tradition there as well, because the kilt is actually a relatively modern invention. So a lot in battle, they would they just strip off because clothes would get in the way. And so I used to scare the hell out of the English. That did.
I was gonna say.
And there was a famous battle. One of the battles. It's called the Battle of the Shirts, because the Scots took everything off, but they kept the shirts on. So it must have been one of these days when you had about -10, and they fought just in the shirts. And so the battle was called Battle of the Shirts.
That's amazing. You are. I could spend hours talking to you, especially when we'll be just talking along, having a nice conversation, and then you'll drop a name like a Mel Gibson. Yeah, Mel Gibson came to the smokehouse, and I gave him some smoked salmon and stuff, and
oh no, he bought it. He had pockets.
Right, he bought it. Yeah. But I do imagine. I do imagine that if somebody were to dig deep down into the stories that you have, that there are nuggets there that you've totally forgotten about and stuff, because you've been doing so much and been around so many people in London. And by the way, do the Scots, you call them Scots, right? The
Scots, yes.
Do the Scots, do they like the British, or are are the English and Scotland still at arm's length kind of thing?
Yeah, well, I mean, this is.
I mean, you've been at war for them for 1,000 years.
It's the laws of balance, because I mean, look at Scotland. It's such a beautiful place, and
Yes.
I mean, God made Scotland the most beautiful country in the world. But to balance that out, he said, "Look at the neighbours it gave you." But
I have to laugh at that.
But the Scots and the English, I mean, I suppose we're all British at the end of the day. And if you look at our royal family, the Queen had got more Scots blood in her, and King Charles got more Scots blood than English blood in them. Charles got a lot of German blood and Greek blood and so on as well. In fact, if he was a dog, he'd look a heck of a mess. But Her Majesty the Queen, or the late Queen, and her mother was Scots through and through, and her father had a lot of Scottish blood in, and that goes back to the days of King James the Sixth of Scotland, who also became King James the First of England. So we had a Scottish king in the lineage there, who was king of Scotland and of England as well, and which created then the United Kingdom as we have now. So so we're all United Kingdom or Great Britain. I think the way the country is just now, you drop the great bit. We're Britain anyway. So in fact, there's a lot of countries like that just now, come to think of it. But so historically, the Queen did have a tremendous amount of Scottish blood in her, and she loves Scotland, absolutely loves it. King Charles, again, absolutely loves Scotland, and any excuse, he's up here. So it's the way they are.
Well, one of my favorite people of all time left London in like 1969, 1970 with his new wife, whose name was Linda. and they bought a farmhouse in Scotland, and it was just a 2-room, and that's Paul McCartney I'm talking about.
Oh yes, yes. That's just down the road from here, down on the Mull of Kintyre.
which
Yes,
he wrote a major song about, that became
yeah.
a huge hit. Yeah, and they loved the area. As a matter of
Yes,
fact, Linda said, and it was just a small two bedroom little farmhouse, and she said it was her most favorite time. They didn't have any running hot water and stuff, but they had the time of their lives there.
yes, that's it. I mean, they didn't have any running hot water. They had plenty of running cold water when it rained, and which was quite often, or just about all the time. But yeah, funny enough, I mean, I met Paul McCartney down there at the time when he was with Jane Asher. So that was just pre Linda's day, and so it was Jane Asher that he was with at that time, and I met them in a pub, needless to say, in Campbellton, and it was absolutely delightful. The pair of them, they're really, really nice, and we sunk a few beers, and I thought maybe it was a better idea to get a taxi back to where I was staying rather than taking the car back. So that was it. Yes, it was exceptionally nice, and it was very, very well liked down there as well. And yeah.
Like I said, you've got a book. I got it, and that's going to be a very, very. It might even be a 3-parter, or maybe a three volume, because you. Let's see, who else can I bring up that you couldn't possibly have met that you've met?
Just don't tell my publisher. Don't hint to my publisher about the idea of doing a book like that.
So what is Mick Jagger like? I'm just kidding.
No idea. Rolling Stone gathers no moss.
Exactly. And by the way, we're talking with Simon MacDonald. If you want to go find out more about him, go to Simon-MacDonald, and that's MAC rather than mine, which is MC. MAC.com.
Yes. There is a theory going back to the reason why you should be MC. And it was going back to the days of the Highland clearances, when the landowners were clearing land to have more sheep because they were more profitable than having people who didn't pay the rent. So there was a huge clearance of people from the crofts and farms, and some were sent to Australia, but a lot went to America and a lot went to Canada. And for the ships carrying these people, of course, it was all under sail then. The ship's manifest, there wasn't enough room to write the name out in full, so they would abbreviate it. Instead of MAC, they just put MC.
I had no idea.
So so the McDonald's or the McLeods or whoever that are MC, they're the export models.
We're the ones that were how you say the trash. Yeah, the trash of the group that didn't pay their rent, and so they sent them off.
Well, yeah, it was. Yeah, that's your words, not mine.
Well, if you knew my family, never mind. I won't.
Yeah, I don't want to start another civil war.
And if somebody would like to contact you for, I don't know, for whatever reason, like to write your biography for you or something, because I think it would be great fun for your stories to get out and stuff. But if somebody wants to contact you, how do they do it?
Well, I mean, you can contact me through the website, which is simon-macdonald.com, or email me at macdonaldsimon, all one word, at ymail, that's the letter ymail.com. Or try a carrier pigeon. I'm quite partial to a bit of pigeon.
And by the way, you also have a YouTube site, which is where you can watch a short synopsis of nursery rhymes for children. And do you want people to buy it from you? Do you want them to go to Amazon? Where can they get the book?
They can go to Amazon or Norn's Triad Publications. They can direct. There's quite a few places have it now as well, but Amazon seems to be the popular choice these days. So Amazon.com or Amazon.co.uk or Amazon.co.za or Amazon.co.au or whatever, wherever you are, even in Japan, people are buying it. So any Amazon, just get them there, and it's a rhyme in time.
A rhyme in time. And if you go to you can go to his website, and there is a contact Simon, and so you could find out, like get the recipe for his smoked salmon, and or one of those things. It's I got to tell you, it's such a pleasure meeting you and talking with you. You're simply an awesome man, and
it's a pleasure talking with you. I mean, after all, you are a sort of distant kinsman. Maybe it's a cousin. I don't know. Maybe our father got about a bit.
Yeah, we were the ones who didn't pay the rent. They said, "No, you're out of here." But the cool thing was we were not the ones who ended up in Australia. So we were like middle of the road, lousy people, and all the convicts went to Australia. Which
yes, they did.
Because they had snakes there and spiders, and they said, "Well, we'll send those guys to that place." So
yeah, but you've got rattlesnakes over there.
Not where I live, we don't. I'm telling you what, because now it's so cold there. You don't have any vermin like that, except for of course, the mosquitoes that you have.
Yeah, but we've got adders. The adder is the only snake that bites. And as a kid, I spent a lot of time over the hills. I've only ever seen one adder in my life. In South Africa, I lived there for 5 years, and they've got puff adders there, and they're big. But the adders here are not that big, but they've got a heck of a bite. So, somebody wants, is the adder a forerunner to the pocket calculator? But no, it's nothing to do with it. It's just an additional creature we have running around, or not crawling around, don't they? They don't run around. They haven't got legs. It would be a lizard then.
They slither around.
Around. That's the word. Yes, but adders, I play golf here. Our local golf course, apparently there's one or two areas there that they say there's adders, and that seems to be where I normally lose my golf balls. So I think that's maybe the reason why they sort of say, "Oh, there's adders there," because they know fine if they go in, they're going to pick a lot of golf balls up, and they're all mine.
Yeah, one time I was playing golf in Louisiana, and it was on the weekend because I had to stay over. And I played golf with a couple local guys, and we were out there. And this particular golf course, it was like it was cut out of a jungle. So you had the fairways and stuff, and then you had all the bush and all the jungle there. And of course, I hooked it right into the foliage. And in where I live, you just go get the ball from the foliage, you find it, and you put it back on the fairway and go. And as I'm walking, taking my cart and walking over there, one of the guys said, "I don't think I'd go over there if I was you." And he said, "Well, why not?" He said, "There's all kinds of critters in there that are going to eat you if you go in there. So I'd leave that ball where it is." So I did.
Yeah. Yes, I had an incident in South Africa as well, but one of the first times I've played in South Africa, and I smacked my ball and it hit this tree, and there was a real crack, and then just dropped straight down below the tree, and it rained monkeys out of this tree. There were dozens of them came piling down out the tree. I was looking for the ball. And the next time I hit a ball into the rough there, and I had one of the local boys there who was caddying for me. He said, no, just leave it there. Don't bother going in. I said, what, for the monkeys? He said, no, snakes. I said, right, okay.
You win. Got it.
That's fine. They can have it.
I would like to thank you so much for coming on and doing this. I know that it is approaching midnight your time there, and you've got places you got to be tomorrow morning and stuff. So I appreciate you staying up a little late and talking with us. I would like to end this conversation with you telling our audience anything that you would like them to know about just about anything.
look forward to a Monday morning. If you don't look forward to that Monday morning, change your career. That's it. But another thing which I've always gone by and stood by, and that is that the sky is not the limit when there are footprints on the moon.
Ooh, now there's a bumper sticker and or T-shirt.
Yes, I suppose.
Yes, indeed. That would be one of that's say that again.
The sky is not the limit while there are footprints on the moon.
And of course, if you live in the United States, there's a segment of our population that don't believe that they went there. So
I think that's a worldwide thing. But then there's also a segment of the population that still believe the world is flat.
Can you imagine? I know you've been a world traveler, you know better, and it just amazes me. But
yeah,
hopefully
it's just that half the journey I seem to be having to hang on to my seat. All the blood was rushing to my head.
Exactly. Simon MacDonald has been our guest today, and go to his website, simon-macdonald.com. I promise you, I want to have you back, but I'll do it at a time where you don't have to stay up till midnight. And I would love to talk to you more.
You'll be up at midnight then.
Yeah, fine. Well, my son is in the Air Force in just south of London.
Really? Oh, well, never
So
mind.
now that's a time zone away from you, or is that the same time zone as London?
No, the same time zone. No, they keep us all the same. Although, I mean, technically speaking, where I am is 19 minutes behind Greenwich Mean Time. But but when it comes to from here to America, well, I'm in the future.
You are.
You have yet to come.
And we hope to get there, by the way,
Wow.
which would be really good if we manage to make it to tomorrow.
Well, excellent. I'd welcome you here anytime at all. And yeah, you can buy the first round.
I'll buy the first round and second round, and I'll even buy the third round if you'll introduce me to Sir Paul. That's
okay. Lovely. Oh. It's been an absolute pleasure. I really enjoyed this evening. It's been lovely.
Well, I couldn't be prouder to have known you, and this has been so much fun. I really, really appreciate it. And so now, with that, I'm gonna bid myself adieu, so that we honor our time together, and you can have a chance to maybe at least get a few hours of nap before you've got to go to your busy journey, which you're going to be doing something tomorrow.
Yes, good. Right.
So thank you very much again, Simon MacDonald. Get his children's book that he authored and also illustrated, A Rhyme in Time. And it's really suitable for all ages. And you'll get as big a kick out of it as your kids will. And read to your children and grandchildren. That would be a great thing for you to have for every time they come over to your house. You've got a rhyme in time and you can read some poems to them. Wouldn't that be fun?
That's right. Don't let the grandkids take it away. Then you'll get more enjoyment out of reading it in peace on your own as well.
Exactly. Again, thank you so much, Simon. It's been such a pleasure.
It's been my honor and my pleasure to be with you tonight. Thank you very much.
And if you'll wait right there, I've got to do this and I'll be right back. Hey, thanks for enjoying this episode all the way to the end. Please give us a like and subscribe to this channel. This has been a production of PositiveTalkRadio.net. Please visit our website, oddly named PositiveTalkRadio.net, for more details about us and our mission, which is to provide great positive programming designed to inspire us all. I'm Kevin MacDonald, and I'm proud of these shows, and I truly hope that you'll like them and share them with friends and family. So on behalf of our entire team, remember, be kind to one another, because